In this video, I'm doing another key comic book spotlight, and this time on the MCU's biggest bad, Thanos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, I'm going to do another key comic book spotlight, this time on the MCU's biggest bad, Thanos. Now, if you're discovering this channel or this series for the very first time, what I typically try to do with key comic book spotlight is take a notable superhero or supervillain and simply point out, 5 of their key and grail comic books that the comic book collecting community often pursues when they're fans of this character. So this video isn't here necessarily to identify, spec books or things that nobody has ever heard of. It's more for new comic book collectors or old ones as well that may want to find out a little bit about the grails and the keys that people pursue for their favorite superhero or supervillain. And in this video, I'm going to do my first supervillain actually, which is going to be Thanos, who felt like a very fitting character to pick. But before I get into my Thanos books, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Love interacting with you guys. We've got a bunch of new subscribers recently from some of the other videos I've done this week. So, I want to welcome those to the channel. Hope you guys stick around. And if you could do one of those things and like and comment and support, that'd be great. All right. With that being said, let us get into my 5 picks for Key Comic Book Spotlight for Thanos. And this one actually, compared to all the other videos I've done previously, was actually one of the harder ones for me to pick as far as like the 5 books I wanted to identify, because outside of his main first appearance book, there were a lot of really great books and collector covers and things like that I identified as things that I think are cool to talk about. So I could only pick 4 other ones, and so hopefully you guys still enjoy my picks. All right. That said, let us get into my first pick here. And my first pick is going to be Thanos' first appearance, which for those who don't know is Iron Man number 55. And as you can see right here, came out in 1973, written by Jim Starlin actually, as he had a small stint on the Iron Man series. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about this book is that although this is the first appearance of Thanos, he's involved in the storyline, it is also the first appearance of the character Drax. And as you can see, Drax is right here on the cover. Unfortunately, I think for this book, and for as we dig into the the values and everything like that, unfortunately Thanos was not drawn on the cover, and I feel like that has kind of hurt this book in terms of its collector appeal. A lot of people, when they collect these books, they want to have those characters and villains on the cover so that they can see them when they admire the book, as opposed to having to open it. So for that reason, even though this is a very sought after Thanos book, it doesn't have the same sort of values when you compare it to other notable supervillains and their first appearances. But with that being said, still a great book. Definitely something that I would love to have for my collection. And so if you dig into the numbers here, we can see that 9.8 will run you around $6,250, and then on the low end, you're looking for a 180, 240 type of deal. But this is generally a book that especially since we've had the Infinity Saga with the MCU, definitely people have pursued this book. I've never really been able to see awesome, amazing under FMV deals with this book. So definitely a hard book to get your hands on as far as if you want to find a really great price, because people love Thanos, and for good reason. He was an amazing character in the MCU. All right, with that being said, let us go on now to my second pick. And my second pick for Key Comic Book Spotlight for Thanos is going to be Captain Marvel 26. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is actually considered to be Thanos' second full appearance, I should say. But a little more importantly, or a little more cool than that, is that this is actually Thanos' first cover appearance. And as you can see, he is right there in the shadows in the cover. And something that's been surprising to me with this book is that I feel like this book is really undervalued, given that Thanos has had such an impact in the MCU, and the fact that, he wasn't on the cover of his first appearance. So being that this is Thanos' first full appearance, I would think that this would be a book that, was at least, put in the 3 for raw copies was in the 3-figure range. But actually, there's still a lot of good deals out there. And not to mention that this is actually the first full appearance of a character known as Death, who, if you guys are familiar with Thanos' storylines, she plays a big role in his motivation. So this is a really cool book to own. Second full appearance of Thanos, and first cover appearance. So as we dig into the numbers here, you'll see on the 9.8 high end, you're looking at $1,550, and then on the low end, end, you're not going to find CGC grades or too many. But typically speaking, this is a book that I see on eBay being sold around that, on the low $35, 40, 50, 60, depending on the grade, but you can find a good deal for this book. And that seems like, definitely worthwhile to have because, Thanos, second appearance, first cover, what's not to like about it? All right, with that being said, let us go on now to my third pick for Thanos, and that is going to be, of course, Infinity Gauntlet #1. And for those who don't know, this is the series of books that the Infinity War and Endgame were based off of. This was the big, event in the early 90s for Marvel that they put together where Thanos had collected all the Infinity Stones, he got the Infinity Gauntlet, and most importantly, with this specific issue, this is the one where he did the now infamous snap. So Infinity Gauntlet #1, definitely a book that has been really hot in the last couple years, but at the same time, right now, being that we're past Infinity War and Endgame, is a really great time to pursue this book because I see the numbers dropping a lot. But outside of the fact that the movie franchise was what it was, this is a great book to have, and especially in the series because this is the one that has like so many different iconic panels within the comic book. And additionally, of course, like I mentioned, it has that snap. So you gotta love that. So as we dig into the numbers here, we look on the high end, 9.8. You're looking at $130 around there. And then, on the low end, you're not going to see too many CGCs. But typically speaking, when I go onto eBay and I peruse this thing, I've seen copies as low as $20. And to me, that seems like a really, really great price. I know that before we ever had like Infinity War and Endgame, this was a book, before we ever established that we were building towards, this event, these were books that you could find these in dollar bins. And that's why I think the prices have been so low for a long time. So now, obviously people want to collect it. I actually don't own this book, but I would love to get my hands on a copy for a good price. And if I found one for, $15, $20 in a store, I probably would pull the trigger and snap my fingers like that. All right, let's move on now to my next pick here. And my next pick is actually going to be a book called Thanos Quest #1, written by John Starlin and drawn by Ron Lipp. And so what's really cool about this is that this is actually one of the first kind of solo series that Thanos would have. It was granted it was a limited series. There were only 2 issues with this, but this was the series where he actually pursued the Infinity Stones and put together the Gauntlet before it led into the Infinity Gauntlet crossover event in Marvel Comics. And what I like about this is that this is just kind of like a really special moment to me in terms of Marvel Comics because you have this Thanos. It's the first time you're sort of seeing his name up there in the title of the book. And additionally, this is a really great read. If you've never actually read Thanos Quest, I highly recommend it because he kind of goes he goes on this mission where he has to like meet all the cosmic elders, and he meets like the gardener and the collector and the grandmaster and people like that, and he basically like has to mental one-on-one each of these people in order to obtain the stone. And if you guys are familiar with like Mega Man, from back in the day, the video game where it's like you had to get like the ice power to beat the fire thing, or like you had to get the water power to beat the whatever, this is what Thanos did with all of the Infinity Stones. He used like one stone to beat the next, and he just was really systematic about it, and the story was really, really great, and very, very enjoyable read. And I really love that cover. I think it's really, really iconic. If you want to have something that's a Thanos collectible, I think that this is definitely a cover that demonstrates a moment in time for us where it's like Thanos pursuing the Infinity Gauntlet. And I love kind of like the painted aesthetic that this book has. All right, let's move on now to my last pick. And my last pick was something that was going to be, it was hard for me to figure out which one to do because there were a lot of what I would call honorable mentions with this. Captain Marvel 33, Avengers 125, a lot of great books that I felt, had Thanos on the cover in just a very, very cool way. But this is one that, admittedly, I was a little biased to because this was like sort of the book that I feel started it all off as far as the Infinity Gauntlet saga was concerned. And that, of course, is going to be Silver Surfer #34. This is what is called the rebirth of Thanos. And this is when Jim Starlin kind of took over the Silver Surfer title, and he wrote, basically all of the, tie-in and events that would lead into the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. And so for that reason, what I kind of like about this is like, granted, this was not Marvel's first event, but this was definitely like, I feel like a first event that sort of defined how they would do events from here on out. Like how currently we have events like King in Black and things like that, and we have all these tie-in issues. Like I feel like Infinity Gauntlet was sort of the first Marvel storyline that did that sort of thing, and this was the book Silver Surfer 34 that really kicked it off as far as leading into the storylines, Infinity Gauntlet, and having all these tie-in and supplemental issues. And so this was the rebirth of Thanos. He had disappeared from the Marvel Universe for a while, and he came back in this Silver Surfer issue. And what's cool about this is a couple things. It has a quick sort of recap, sort of origin of where Thanos was, what his storylines were. So you get that when you buy this book. But most importantly, I just think that as far as cover appeal and owning a book that has Thanos on it, this is one of the best you're gonna find. As far as like what is an iconic pose, it's a Silver Surfer book. We see the character. It's got that classic sort of modern / copper feel, which I really appreciate. And, especially since when I dig into the numbers, this is something that's really affordable, considering that, it's such a beautiful, iconic piece of art. And as you can see here on the numbers, 9.8 is going to run you around $160, and you're not going to find too many CGCs in general. But when I go onto eBay and I peruse, like, this is a book that, I've seen as low as, $12 and things like that. So depending on, what kind of deal or what kind of raw you can find, there's definitely good deals out there. And as far as like just owning a book that has, a really cool cover with Thanos, Silver Surfer 34 is my pick. All right, that is all I have for this video. Those are my 5 Key and Grail comic books, Key comic book spotlight for Thanos. Let me know what you guys think. Do you have any of these books? Have you bought any other Key Thanos books, or do you think that there's other ones that I left out? I know there's a lot of modern stuff that, Thanos has done recently. So, let me know if you guys enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed it myself. Drop me a like, comment, or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.